aquatic story of Nigeria, we haven't told it. You know, it's but that's just me thinking. There are elements apart from entertainment, apart from leisure. There are things around there, and we don't know. We just don't know. Nobody's ever said this happened. Let's go check it out.
Bro, that's a great point because hey guys, it's Ed, your Minister of Adventures, and this is Divers Getting Coffee, featuring divers sharing diverse experiences across the ocean tribe. Let's go. Filmmaker, storyteller,
Okay.
extraordinaire. You know, happy Sunday, Mr. Tolu
Uh,
Ajayi.
hey man, it's a pleasure to meet you, man. Ed, always a pleasure to interact with you. I really appreciate what you're doing. You're one of the guys braving the new frontier and doing very well at it from what I've seen. So kudos to you, man. Thanks for having me.
Blessings, brother. Blessings, brother. You too much. As a storyteller, you have a new film out. What's the name of the latest film? Training Day.
Training Day, yeah. So yeah,
Training
Training
Day out
Day.
on Netflix. Good stuff.
Well, it's on Afroland. It's not on Netflix.
Oh,
It's on
Afroland, and I
Afroland.
saw it on YouTube too, right?
Yes. It's also on YouTube. It's a film we made to talk about the dangers it's about digital inclusion. So
Mm-hmm.
with what's happening in Nigeria and the fact that any government can shut down communications that have been happening. So
Mm.
me and my partners, a company called Up in the Sky, they came to me with this concept of us doing a short film that just basically highlighted some of the things going on and how it happens. And
Wow.
yeah, I'm privileged to have made it. It's done really well. And it was also made for a company called Paradigm Initiative. Paradigm Initiative is the actual client, and they working with in the Embassy of Netherlands. They're in this venture of basically sharing about knowledge, about your
Mm-hmm.
rights as a digital citizen, and what could happen if those rights are taken away. And that's what the film kind of highlights, in the life of young Africans, young Nigerians to be specific.
That's amazing. And the next one I want to highlight is your other movie called Thirst. Let me grab my coffee real quick, and we'll talk about it. All right. Cheers, brother. We're getting into it.
Just
So
to you.
there's this other movie you made, short film, Thirst,
Yeah.
and
First.
completely
Mm,
underwater, and it had a very powerful
yeah.
message.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's my second short film, and about the time I made it, I was pondering on a situation happening in Nigeria where there are communities that lack access to basic, water, basic necessities such as potable water. And I there's the irony that especially in the areas where there's oil production, where in the Niger Delta, that there are villages who can't drink from the streams or the rivers around them. And I was like, that's strange. Why is that happening? Why are these lakes polluted? Why are these sources of water polluted? And it occurred to me, I was like, how can you be so close to water and not be able to partake from it? And that was for me the irony. And I wanted to present that irony visually. So you can be around water but not be able to drink it. And there's a poem by a guy called Samuel Coleridge that says, "Water, water everywhere, not a drop to drink." That's just a very shortened version of that poem. And that became the visual, the way I tried to express it, the vision of people who were thirsty, but they were living in water.
Wow. That's very powerful
Yeah.
because the imagery from that film was, the subject inserted in water, but they were finding it hard to breathe. They were in very constant pain. And everything you just
Yeah.
explained right now literally came through. across just watching the movie.
Thank you.
Bro, that's
Yeah,
fire.
yeah.
That's
Thank you.
fire.
Thank you.
But here we go. That's
Thank
why
you.
we talk to very extraordinary people. Welcome, Mr. Tolu Ajayi, filmmaker, storyteller extraordinaire, and extra specially, scuba diver. How did that start?
Ah,
How did
yeah.
that start? Scuba diving in Niger.
I,
How did that one start?
I have to thank my dad for the education. So my dad was the kind of guy who always used to subscribe to, when we grew up, in Nigeria back then, he always subscribed to National Geographic. And as a child, when you be reading these magazines, you'd be like, what are these guys doing? What's going on? What's this? And I was fascinated, right from the time. And I like swimming. I've always liked swimming and all that. I was like, what's going on? So those early images prompted a desire to do it. And when I would swim, I'd always swim underwater. I'd always try and hold my breath for as long as I could. And I had this opportunity because I worked in advertising for 2 decades. So in the course of that career, I traveled, in and out of the country quite a bit. So I was in South Africa on this trip, and I'd been putting off scuba diving, even though I wanted to do it. And I had this trip, and they said to me, "Hey, listen, let's go shark diving." And I said, "Why not?" So we were
Let's
supposed to go
go.
shark diving, cage shark diving. My very first time, I was like, "Yeah, let's go shark diving." And the waters turned out not to be so good. I was in Cape Town, so something happened with the waters was a bit bumpy or something. So they said, "Okay, come. There's another option. Would you like to go diving in this huge aquarium? Um, it's called Twin. Keep forgetting the name. Aquarium in the waterfront in Cape Town. This sort of about the size of the one in Dubai.
Oh wow.
And yeah, so when I showed up, the instructor, because you had to do like 1 hour worth of uh, instruction, and says, "Would you like to do this?" I said, "Yeah, yeah, why not?" And I knew because I wasn't the atypical person that comes to do these things, as a tourist. So I kept on getting checks. Like, "Is are you sure?" No, I said, "I'm good. I swim quite often. Like, even as a child, I used to swim in the lake. My house, and I grew up in a place called Kwara State, Lawrence. And I used to swim in the lakes. Uh, then, I kind of bored when you don't want to swim in the pool. And I said, "Okay, I'm good." And I aced the first test, learned all the skills. And I went in there, and we swam with about three. It's a huge aquarium, so there were many fishes in there, barracudas, octopi, etc. And there were three tiger sharks in there. And I was I was cool. I was good. And after that time, whenever I would go to Cape Town, I would always book a discover scuba diving program. But I never
Yeah.
stayed long enough to actually do it. I tried to finish, but I never did. Then I realized what's happening in Nigeria. Then I went into the program.
Wow. So you did your program at Scuba Lagos. We'll get to that in a second. But fun fact,
Yeah.
it's great that you actually were a swimmer before you got into diving. Fun fact about me, I couldn't swim. No, I could swim barely when I started diving.
Yeah.
It
But
wasn't until I was doing my dive master program that I really, really needed to know how to swim.
wow,
And what
wow.
airport hotel in Ikeja, I used to sneak away.
Yeah.
My mother should not hear this. I'll sneak away and go there and just swim and see how everything happens. But I've seen people, like people that drown get pulled out of the water because Olympic size pool. It was pretty deep. I think
Super
15
deep.
feet in the
Yeah.
deep end. I've been a couple of my guys there. I think they're now in Canada. But yeah, when I started diving, I was comfortable in water because I was dreaming about diving from Bar Beach. Just
Mm.
Easter, Christmas, everything. We'll go to the beach. So I just like, what's under this ocean now? But now African. You say if you enter that water, go
No,
punish you
no.
there.
Yeah, yeah. It's that lack of curiosity. I think. I've been curious about what's going on. And we have so much. aquatic real estate that nobody's curious about.
Hmm.
Um, and I wanted to always do it in Nigeria, but it was something that was for a select few, and so it was easier for me to just walk into a dive shop and for a day just go do the program. I even did a program. I was in Johannesburg once. I did a program. I didn't finish it because I had to do an open water dive, and I had to leave the country before I could finish. But yeah, there's a general lack of curiosity, and there's a big fear. A lot of people live in Lagos and can't swim, and I always ask them, how do you live in a coastal city and it's a life skill. That's just me. I just think it's a life skill. You live in a coastal city, you cross bridges every day, you go to the
It's
beach a lot, and you don't.
yeah.
Uh, I don't know.
Because it's not the norm. My good friend in South Africa, Zandi, she has the same concern. There are a lot of coastal cities, Cape Town. I don't think Joburg is a coastal city. My geography used to be good, not anymore. But Cape Town, for example, they're like Cape Flats, where they're 10 minutes from the ocean, 15 minutes, maybe 10 miles.
Yeah,
Same thing in Compton. Compton, South LA is 10 minutes from the ocean, 10 miles from the ocean, depending on what day it is, depending on traffic. But you have people that have, maybe they went to the ocean like once on a secondary school, middle school excursion. And we're like, why? Because the ocean belongs to all of us. Um, I'm not even trying to go political, but people like Christopher Columbus, they're just like, what is at the other side of this ocean now? Let me go and see. Maybe we can make money from this thing. I mean, over time, I kind of understood their real motivation for that thing. But honestly, that's one of the things that really, really pumped me. Being at Bar Beach, being at the beach, I'll look at the ocean like, okay, if I go this way, maybe I'll hit Florida. If I go that way, maybe I'll hit. I used to be a nerd. I'm still a nerd. If I go this way, maybe I'll hit Brazil. Then many years later is when I actually got into sailing, diving, being in the ocean, all those kind of things. But it was worth it. It was very worth it. What's your experience?
it
What was
is.
your
It
experience
is.
at Scuba Lagos? Diving in a, because I see
Scuba,
the guys, they're mostly
uh,
Lebanese guys, right?
yeah. So there. Yeah. It's actually Scuba Lagos, Captain Hussein. It started off as his passion. He owns, I think, several boats, and the jet ski. So Scuba Lagos is also affiliated with the Jet Ski Club in
Correct.
Lagos, and they cater to mostly the expats who want the same experience in coastal cities. Um, so you have a lot of expats. You have quite a lot of people um, who have experienced, aquatic activities elsewhere. So generally, nobody thinks, with the exception of a few people that go out on yachts for a few, for just wine drinking or something. Nobody really thinks of getting into the water. Um, very few people, but there are quite a few Nigerians. There are quite a few jet skis. There are guys that own boats. I mean, when I started going to the club, I started meeting the people that are there. Very serious scuba divers who are Nigerians. I know of some other people who are professionals who work for oil companies. I know of it's a guy called Kolabudu who's I think he's an investment banker.
Yeah. Shout out to
Yeah,
Kola. Shout out to Kola. I met him through Trey. Trey.
Trey. Okay.
Yeah.
He's serious about it. He's gone everywhere. He told me he's been to Bali. Um, he knows dive spots all over the world. It's his thing. And he's someone you should have a conversation with if you can connect with him. And he has a much like a very wide experience of diving, and it's a part of it's his passion, you know, as well. So there are Nigerians. I've had the opportunity to have uh, Nigerians be my dive buddies, you know, and whatever it is you want to say, I connect with any kind of person, but it's reassuring sometimes when you're connecting with someone who knows who's in your culture, who knows what that so this thing be.
I didn't tell
You
you.
know that kind of
I didn't tell you.
So you know that you always you want that kind of want that kind of thing. And I don't there's no shit on anyone. My coach is an excellent guy, Tony. But it's just sometimes just like, hey, that dude, okay, he knows what's up, and you guys are diving together, and you're keeping an eye on him, and he's keeping an eye on you. So yeah, it's a great brotherhood.
There's nothing more as the reality sets in when you're underwater. You know your next breath. It's about the next breath, and you know your buddy. You have to depend on your buddy. If something goes wrong or
Yeah,
something goes wrong for your buddy, you got to be there to show up. There's a certain kind of brotherhood or fraternity or sorority,
exactly.
whatever, male, female, that comes up when you do this kind
Yeah,
of things. Because in 1 minute, in 1 second, life can just disappear, just like that. You don't go. It's
exactly,
it's it's a
exactly.
big feeling.
And there are two feelings. The first underwater for me is euphoric.
Hmm.
Um, so there are two feelings. There's the danger you're doing something that is not you're not supposed to be doing. That's always at the back of your mind. But there's also the euphoria of no gravity, of floating, of seeing a new world, of going down and just gently. And there are times when you're so relaxed, your heart rate is down, and even though you are conscious, you're checking your dive computer, you're checking, your air, making sure everything is solid, but you still feel this sense of, yeah, this is great, you know, and you're taking everything in, you're looking around, and you're just, it's like going to a really nice, sometimes it's like going to a really nice hotel or going to visit somewhere. Like it's like everywhere it's more like a safari, a really dope safari where you get to just observe and see life, from a different perspective. Sometimes, yeah.
Which is very funny because the first time I saw a lion was actually in San Diego. Um, but
Listen. Like we're Africans. As my first up close and personal was a lion. Was in Lions Reserve in Johannesburg or somewhere off Johannesburg. Like really, really close. Never seen them.
sorry, 1 second. Gracie, what's up? My daughter.
Straight on. Good for you. That's what it's all about, bro.
and
That's what it's all about.
and I think it's very special. I never thought about it when I started. For me, I dreamed of seeing what was underwater, what was on the other side, just being on the beach and doing regular things.
Mm.
And then after grad school, lived all over the East Coast, then moved to California. It was in California California is a little more accessible to things of the ocean, sailing, scuba diving, because
Yeah.
it's just right there. It's easy pickings, low hanging fruit. You just do it or you don't. If you don't want to do it, fine. It's not your thing. So it was when I started. I was, for the most part, the only black. You know what? It wasn't until Divers Getting Coffee that I really started talking to. One time I realized I haven't actually talked to any other black diver. Then talk less of
Yo.
an African diver. Then talk less of a
Oh.
Nigerian diver. And talk less of a Yoruba. Okay, you're special. You're special.
Yeah. Yeah. Salute, bro. Salute.
How, how does it
Salute.
feel? What was what was your experience like doing it with Scuba Lagos? I know the guys there, they're the guys and the gals, they're doing the thing. It's about ocean loving, but this is a very niche market. Like there are maybe 20, 30 million divers out of 8 billion people. That's point zero
Mm.
zero
Mm.
already. Then African divers, point zero 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 already. Nigerian divers, add another zero.
Wow,
It's
crazy.
it's almost like being one of the
I
few people that went to the moon.
uh, I mean, there. The funny thing that one of the things when I went out to do my first open water after that tank experience, I was in Cape Town, and when got in there, the guy said to me, he said that just like a week ago, another guy came in here to do this, and he was black, and he's Nigerian. So I was like, okay, you know. So you're right. There are not that many people doing it. As I think as a culture, we're risk averse. Um, my experience uh, with Scuba Lagos, which was fantastic, really excellent, has been a pretty supportive one. Um, has been one in which they've kind of they guided me. They really took me in, and there's a lot. As a matter of fact, my coach, the guy that I did my training with, is in the country right now because he comes in only during diving season, which starts from November up until May. In
Interesting.
Nigeria,
Actually,
we have
that was a question I was going to ask you,
go
but
on.
thank you. You answered that already.
Yeah, yeah. So diving season starts around November, then till May. So I mean, because of COVID, I haven't actually gone there with while I plan to actually start from about February, given that there's time. And it's been a great very supportive thing with conversations, um WhatsApp groups, checking out, because I always try and see what other people's pictures, because Lagos waters are not as scenic as everybody else's. Sometimes it gets turbulent.
Mm.
So around November, from what I've heard, November, um December, sometimes the water is bumpy, so it's bumpy going out to find the point. And we don't have coral reefs or natural structures, so we tend to dive around wrecks.
Mm.
So most of the time, we around old ships or
I,
sunken ships, more like.
I know there's the 6 Mile wreck and there's like another wreck somewhere else.
Yeah.
What are the dive sites in
Go on.
Nigeria like?
The weird thing is like there are four of them. I can't remember. There's Eastman is one I remember the most.
Okay.
Uh, Sorry, there's East Wreck. There's one called West and the 6 Mile, and I might be getting it wrong because I didn't memorize them. Um, but I've been to three. The deepest I've dived that has been 36 meters thereabouts.
36
Um,
meters, that's almost, so 40 meters would be 120 feet. Okay.
yeah, it's just about there.
Wow,
So
that's
yeah, that
that's
was quite an
deep.
experience.
That's deep.
Yeah,
That's like
it
10
was deep,
minutes
deep, like dark deep.
on a regular aluminum 80, or maybe 15 minutes on the steel 100.
You see now, see that's a dive master talking. Uh, that experience, the first time I went there, I was still a student, and I think I had to, I used up so much air, on that. So when I was coming up to do the safety stop, my tank was pretty low. So I had to actually, my dive body, I had to actually uh,
Air
take
exchange
some
on the
air
way
off my
up.
dive body.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to exchange it because I was just flipping. I was also conserving my energy then. I was just excited and just flipping up and down the place. And before I knew, the air was gone. And by the time I came up, I'd already gone up. And while I was doing a safety stop, I just said,
Give me air
stop.
now. When they water you, give me air. What's going on?
Yeah. Yeah, so it was good. Was calm, totally calm for me. Whenever I narrated that to people, it was like that. But because we had gone through all those routines, we had gone through all the emergency routines, in the pool, one in which even if you're snagged, if your tank was snagged, you could take it off. But we did a lot of really interesting routines. Take off your vest, your BCD, swim with it. There are so many routines that we've gone through. So nothing came as a surprise. Nothing came as panic. I just didn't remember how to manage my breathing going down. And it also took me a while to go down because there's a lot of current
Mm.
that day. Yeah. So lessons. Now, of course, uh, when you're making your dive, you just know how to do it. You you go down as quickly as you can.
Yeah.
Once you get past about once you get past 5 meters, you're pretty good.
5 meters, so 15 feet. Yeah, exactly. Because the first 10 feet are kind of
Oh
the
yeah,
hardest.
Americans. Yeah.
Sorry, I have to like compute it every
Yeah.
time. Like,
No, but dude, I get you, man.
I'm like times three, times three, times three.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. So
So,
that's it.
somebody asked me
Um,
once, like, do you go down right away or do you take your time? Because it all depends, like what's your dive profile, where you're trying to get to. Depends on the current. Like sometimes there's current on the surface, there's nothing under. Florida, for example, around November,
yes.
December. Oh my God, the swells are like 12 feet. I'm dying on. I'm a sailor and I'm still
Oof.
dying on top of the water. Like, oh, God, help me now. I didn't come from Africa to live like this now.
Yeah, exactly. Like getting out to dive spots is mad bumpy.
Then when you get on the water, like
But
60
yeah, it
feet,
gets
15 meters? No, 20 meters. 60 feet, 20 meters.
yeah.
Everything is just clear and calm. Like, oh, this is nice.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's what adds to that euphoric feeling. Because up top, there have been a journey, because in Lagos, sometimes you have to like go out 40 minutes, 35 minutes sometimes to get to a dive site. It's not like just get out there, you leave the boat club and go out for a while, listening to music, calming, just, relaxing, chilling. Then you find the dive spot and you guys, you rig, throw the anchor down, you catch the wreck, you make your exit. Our exits are all, backwards most of the time, even though we learned all the other ways to exit. But most of the time you get in, and we use lines.
Yeah, and
So
I
use a
see you
line for the
guys
side
use
of
a
the
lot
boat.
of Boston whalers, so you back rolling all the pretty much most of the time, right?
Yeah. So yeah, the exit is the back row. Yeah. Sorry about the technical term. So I only make the
Eh,
exit,
no worries, brother.
that way.
Anyone we can call it a backslide. Anyone we want to call it. It's our land, Abi.
I'm well, people that like my coach will be like, no, this is what you should be saying. I'm like, I said, dude,
They say, oh
I use
God,
the techniques.
there's no word for still 100 in pidgin. What do you want me to say?
Yeah, yeah. I know the
Even
techniques.
though yes, you speak very you grew up in Virginia, you speak amazing English, but sometimes I just love to speak pidgin for no reason.
That's all, man. Like we should be speaking pidgin,
I think it should be
lingua
an
franca all the
official
time, man.
language in Nigeria.
Yeah, they should. There are many things that we should be doing. There
Yes.
are many things. I
Yes,
think
that too.
pidgin is a verified language.
Mm.
You know, we're supposed to get films, we're supposed to get literature, you know, in pidgin, but it's another thing we have to figure out.
That's so many steps
Just
to
another
go.
thing.
Now, there's the next question I was going to ask you about a bucket list, but in Nigeria, when you
Yeah.
like you're hanging out, say book club, you say, "Hey, I'm a diver." What is that? How is that received? When they, hey, I'm Tolu,
Okay,
I'm a
so
diver. How is that received?
now this is the thing though. So while I was at the club, the BBC came around, and they did the documentary
Shout out to Tolu. He's got a BBC
on
documentary. I'll put in the link in the comments.
yeah, so they came around. I don't talk about it much. It's my own personal thing. Um, and they came around, and of course they featured on I was one of the featured divers for that thing. It was done last year. Around this time last year, it was filmed. You know, then it's weirdly enough about for the past 2 weeks, the documentary has resurfaced, and all the people that didn't get to see it keep now sending, oh, like I want to like we do this in Nigeria, I want to do it. We do this in Nigeria, I want to do it. So I think I have 4 people who, if they're serious enough, they'll go. My coach will be, probably I'll just hand them over, like, all right, guys, get to it. A lot of people
How did
think
it
it's like
go?
a discover experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys just go,
Yes.
get in there. Uh, and it's a fairly simple. I think it's simple. They will of course have to, like, master themselves. That's one of the things they'll have to realize. They will have to master themselves, when they get into the pool, because the pool tests are pretty, they'll be intense for them.
As a diver, obviously you need to be self-reliant, right? When I was in my pool sessions, oh my, I freaked out. I won't lie to you. I freaked out. Nobody small. But when I got into the ocean, somehow I just felt calm. Somehow I just imagined I've been wanting to do this for a long time. Buckle up,
Yeah,
do this thing.
yeah, you're right. There's there's a thing about getting out of your head, um, you know, and being aware of your environment. So even when I say it's euphoric, you've worked out in your head all the things you're doing, you know, checklisting, even as you're enjoying yourself, paddling. Um, I started to do penetrations in
And Rex,
certain vessels. Yeah, in certain wrecks, yeah. But very wide ones,
mm,
like ships that they used to store grain. So they often have very large entry spots, and you can come out at the other end. And whilst you're enjoying yourself, you're pretty aware. Oh, what's the gauge? Where's you know my
where's your valve? Where's
where's
your
the top of my tank?
first
Yeah, my
stage and
valve.
everything?
Yeah, first stage. Yeah, first stage. Thank you very much. My first stage. Um, where is it going to, like? Is it going to hit? How deep do I have to go? Over under. So there's a lot of awareness you still have to have. I don't, even studying the wreck itself, looking out for wildlife, looking out for seashells. There's a lot of advice. Keeping your eye on your dive body, always ensuring, you know, they're there or a little bit ahead of you. So there's that, you're not just in there just going, crazy. You're looking out for all kinds of things all the time. Always have your head on swivel
Hmm.
and ensuring that, you're there. Conversations, if you try to have a conversation with someone about being a scuba diver, then, the first Nigeria will be like, what did you find? Right? Now, when they observe you doing it, when they actually watch it, right? When they watch it and they realize that there's a certain freedom. Oh, when can I? How do I sign up? How do I join in? And they want to try it out for themselves. And again, self-mastery and everything else comes into play.
And I think that's a very good point because once you see someone that you share the same baseline culture with doing it, you're like, this motherfucker can do it. I can do this shit too. you know,
Exactly. Exactly.
you're like,
Don't be
if
this
this
guy.
motherfucker can do
Don't be
it,
this guy.
I think I know this guy.
Don't be
We
this
don't get
guy.
too ahead
What's
now with
he?
the water
What's
arm.
he? And then realize the average Nigerian is what they do, say, who you be? I beg, they do am I fit do am now. Wetin they do? And that's the thing about us. We like to break barriers. Once we see somebody else there, that's never been my motivation. I've always enjoyed uh
And I think that's
like
why the quality of the who you are as a representation of not just diversity, but diversity to a diversity to people that's completely. Honestly, man, Jacques Cousteau. You don't hear about black
Uh,
people diving in
Jacques
general.
Cousteau.
Then you now hear about African people diving. Then now hear about Nigerian. There's a certain level of difference
I'll
there.
tell you so. There's a pro, there's a documentary that I was talking to one of my friends. She's South African. She's black. She just started diving. In fact, weirdly enough, there was this program that I wanted to enter before COVID, where they wanted to talk to a host of African divers, and it was a project. And she got into the project, you know, and they had a group of women, and they were all doing it. As we were talking, I'm just saying, okay, black women. And the project that came up to my mind, and it's a documentary I'll start doing this year. It's called Water Resistance, and
Hmm.
you heard it here first. And the whole idea is, why are we, as a people, not indigenous communities on the coast. Indigenous communities have made their peace with water. In Badagry, in the Niger Delta, even in Lagos, there's a community of people that live on water in Morocco who go out onto the water every day. So, but the sophisticated people, they don't really take, the average person doesn't really think about getting into water. There's no benefit, as far as they're concerned. In my swimming pool where I go, regular, not many people swim a lot. You have, and I think it's a culture, it's a challenge. So you have this thing where you see parents, so their children can swim. So if you come to a Nigerian swimming pool, right, in my club, the club I was at, you have the parents all sit to the side, drinking beers, watching football on the TV screen on the side. Grown people. You have the children ages 5 to 10 swimming. Yesterday, I saw a woman hand over her daughter to a swim coach, and the daughter was screaming and yelling. And I said, "You're doing this. You're going about this wrong. You should be the one in the water with the child, comforting the child, and letting the child know the water is not an enemy." So I think culturally, it starts to build up this thing that we don't belong in water. Water is something you don't belong in. Aside from the other issues they say about, we don't like getting our hair wet, which is not really true. But there's just a thing, and I'm sure the other racial inequality situations, especially in America, um, where they didn't allow black people to swim way back, way back. At the time I lived in the US, I used to swim in pools. This was the 80s.
Yeah.
But historically, um, we are not, historically, especially in urban areas, a lot of people don't like being around. So if you mention that, I'm a scuba diver, oh, you like doing extreme stuff. I said, it's nothing extreme about being a scuba diver.
Hmm.
I don't think
Wow.
so.
That's a very
Not extreme.
intuitive perspective. But what you just said makes so much sense because there's no other way you can get it unless you have that experience. There's no other way you can really I get
Hmm.
what you're saying unless you really go through that and see that. The funny thing is, there's there are memes about like black pool parties and white pool parties, and you see one, everybody else is in
Yeah.
the pool, and one, everybody else is in the pool. I as It's funny. One time I was in Mexico. I was like 36 other divers. I showed up in line. We had our separate reservation, and the guy in Mexico was like, "No, this is a line for divers. Go on the other line." I said, "Your father, yes, your
Oh
father,
wow.
God punish you."
Ah.
um,
Like,
the
yeah,
times
that comes through. Yeah.
there are times I've gotten on a boat in California, and most divers are typically cool. I mean, the fact is, we're all breathing underwater. We're all doing stuff that human beings normally shouldn't be doing.
Shouldn't do. Yeah.
But I've had that look like, can you even swim? Early in the days. Now I don't think about it as much. Like, you know what? And that's one of the reasons I actually kept going. I actually getting more recs, getting more competent, because subconsciously I started to realize that I was now to the people I interact with, I was now the poster child of, oh, if I can't dive properly, I mean, whether in the early days I couldn't do it properly because I had to learn over time. Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
but
black people just can't really dive, you know. So that made
uh,
an impression of me.
listen, yeah, like I've never seen like I'm course correcting anything. Though I've seen a couple of documentaries. I saw a documentary about some black divers who got together and they were able to, um, because some of the slave boats that came, and I think they're on the East Coast, and they
Diving with
came
a
and
purpose.
diving with a purpose. Yeah. So
Um,
I ran into it. Go on, listen.
no, my sister Huda Brown, she's on that. She's on that parole. She's
Oh,
got
good.
a yeah.
And it triggered off for me. Like when I saw it, I was like, so besides my own personal recreation, there's so much. There's a lot locked off our coasts that I'm speaking for Nigeria now because I think black divers that are taking this thing on are equally as capable. Matter of fact, there was a Hollywood film. I think Cuba Gooding Jr. was in it, where he was a
Yes.
diver.
First black Navy diver lost his leg, but
Yes,
went in and did it again. He won't
I
quit.
did it again. Yeah, yeah. Great. Yeah, yeah. It's an amazing film. I saw that film like,
Man of honor.
but
Man of honor.
Man of Honor. Yeah. But amazing film. Those are the kind of things like, and that's what you say about being imagery for people to see, because I wasn't diving when I saw that. When I saw that, but seeing people do these things also realize that there's a space for you in this sport. But what I think is important to also look at is in Nigeria, like a diver like you who's a dive master, for instance, and you get together and we're able to all come together. There are wrecks that speak to our history, that speak to things that are going on, the discoveries to be made, that the waters belong to us. You know what I mean? And I know it's not copacetic in Nigeria. Our shores, in certain places could be dangerous with pirates, etc. But just around Lagos, which was a major place um, of commerce in the 17th century,
That's why it was
thereabout.
called Lagos, right? The Portuguese word for lagoon,
Yeah,
Lagos.
so for Lagos, yeah. So there you go. And there's a lot that's in there that is worth checking out from a purely historical point of view, which our Marine Institute should be really, really into, and the heritage sites that we should be looking at there, and it's something that as more people become more conscious about it, even as from a business perspective, it becomes something that is what because I like to tell stories and I like to know the stories of stuff that's happened. The aquatic story of Nigeria, we haven't told it. You know, it's but that's just me thinking. There are elements apart from entertainment, apart from leisure. There are things around there, and we don't know. We just don't know. Nobody's ever said this happened. Let's go check it out.
Bro, that's a great point because period piece, there's, what Lagos used to be, 15, 16, 1700s. Then even
Yeah,
as recently as during Niger Delta, there is the I think Worry guy that was an oil yeah, one of
yeah. The guy
those
that
oil
that was stuck on
boats
the ship.
stuck on a ship for 3 4 days underwater. Like his boat capsized and he was
Capsized.
underwater, capsized. My English
How
is not
that
very
man?
good. Sorry, I
It's
still speak
capsized. You're
Wafi.
right. But you're right, dude. You're right.
The boat was underwater, but he had an air pocket. He was just lucky that he was in on the shit pot for 3 days, and
It's
it took the South African divers to come and rescue him. But I've seen the act. Actually, bro, actually, this is something we should talk about as a movie. I think this is very epic. the journey of
Yeah.
those 3 days, surviving underwater, smelling dead body, getting nipped at by fish, your skin falling off your bones in salt water.
Jeez. That's true though. You know, whenever I
Bro,
think of
that's
the
a
guy's story,
great biopic.
uh, it's an amazing story. I wish in the rescue part of the story there were Nigerians involved, but it's still an awesome story.
We can switch
Um,
that up now. Me and you are gonna rescue the guy. We can skip that
okay,
one
let me
out.
just change that. Let me just
We
make me flip
just
out. Let me just flip the
we'll take
story.
creative freedom.
Let me freedom. But on the real though, it's a great idea. I mean, somebody made a story about a guy that was trapped under a boulder and had to cut off his arm.
One
Um,
127
for it,
hours.
127 hours. I said 48 hours. That's a completely different film. 127 hours. So yeah, that's a great premise. I have I always think of that story, abstract. You know, I always think of that story in abstract. There's another story, but it's not really an underwater story though. But if I talk, it's a story of a guy who, and this speaks to, he was on a boat. The boat capsized, and this dude was the only one that could swim. So he swam 13 times
Hmm.
and was rescuing people. He kept on going, getting people, save them from drowning. On the 14th try, he drowned.
Wow.
Yeah, he drowned on the 14th time. And this of course speaks to the whole thing about the culture of swimming. So it's a fantastic, that going back to that story of the guy trapped in that chamber underwater. How many feet was it down underneath again? How many
I think
meters?
it was past 200 feet. So it was just enough that
Jeez.
recreational divers can't go get him. So it was definitely a
Yeah.
specialty crew. Um, but it wasn't that far that, it was completely impossible. But
But
the, yeah, the
the
fact that he
the
survived.
compression. I mean, I don't remember the part of the story, but he had to. I mean, how many safety stops did they make? How did he decompress? Because that would be crazy. Because in that air pocket at that depth,
When they found him, I think he only had like 2 hours of air left because
left,
you breathe into the air pocket
yeah,
is now
carbon
getting
monoxide,
filled
yeah,
with
just
carbon monoxide. Yeah, so he
monoxide,
only
yeah,
had like
yeah,
a
carbon
few hours
monoxide,
of
dioxide,
air
yeah.
actually left for him, but it was. I'll send you the video. It's very interesting. The actual video of him getting rescued.
Okay,
It was insane. I don't think anybody. He's the only person actually in history that survived being in a boat capsized at that depth for so long in recorded history.
yeah, he's the only one.
What do you got?
I record him. Yep, no, they carry last.
No, they carry last. Why not they carry
No,
last?
they carry
Everything
last.
they must
No, they
win.
carry last. Why are you going to be on I'm not going down with this boat. That's the captain's job. I'm not going down. No,
I
he's
am
technically going down
because
with the boat.
and the guy's still alive, and it could be a really good biopic. Like put him in it, and it's crazy that we're even talking about filmmaking now. I love it. I
It's
love it
it's it's hey, listen, it's a very saleable story. I think it's worth doing. Um,
because
the approach will be the pitch
because
and probably creating the
uh, uh,
material.
understanding what he was going through mentally in those 2 3 days can I think influence people's
There are two
lives.
stories. So there are even two stories
Mm-hmm.
about it because there's the internal story, what's going on in his head, and all the things
Yep.
he's thinking about, and there's the external story, which is what's happening to him. Air slowly going, the noise, because I heard he was hearing noises of animals, sea mammals or
Yeah.
sharks or whatever,
Banging on the
not hitting the
boats,
boat,
things are going on, just noise on the water. Like,
going on, his own physical deterioration, um, with skin, like you said, uh, probably mental deterioration as well. But that's also that's what's happening in his head. Him thinking about his family, him thinking about his life,
Yeah.
or the afterlife, whichever one. So there's a lot in there, and of course claustrophobia, the mad claustrophobia, and the will he had to keep shouting for help. Like, how would he know there were divers? I don't even know the story that deep, but how did he know, like, hey, come get me, I'm still here, I never died.
And keep in mind, he was taking a shit when anything happened. So there's
Yikes!
shit on the water. So he was smelling shit
Uh,
for 3 days.
Yikes! Yikes!
Shit and dead body. Ah,
Damn!
yo.
Now I'm intrigued. Ed, we have to keep talking about this. I'm absolutely now I'm invested mentally.
I swear, bro.
I'm now very, very invested. I'm very invested. This is great. This is dope. Let me think. Let me go watch a movie or let me go watch a video, see what it's like.
Yeah, I'll send you a couple of shots. Like when the South African diver found him, he was actually shocked. Well, both of them were shocked. Like, oh, because they weren't going in for rescue; they were going in for recovery.
Because
They were going in based on, all right, they're all gone. Let's
everybody got
just
that.
see wait till if we come out for here.
Yikes! Hey! Well, that is. It was. I'm just thinking about it. Like I'm just thinking about it. I'm like, yeah. I mean, that he didn't even give up and say, let me just, finish this thing myself.
Yeah.
That's another thing.
Because
But
how long was he going to
let's do
hold up
this.
for? I mean, 24 hours, 1 hour is a long time when you're underwater by yourself on a capsized boat. You don't know how deep you are. You don't know what's going on. You don't know if there's help coming. You just think, well, okay, it don't happen.
I
Then
don't
you
even
stay
know. I
for
don't even know. Like
24. Then you stay for 48.
24.
Then you stay for 72.
Stay for 42. Ah, just thinking about it literally is freaking me out. Like it's literally freaking me out because I never really thought about it like deeply.
I
But
mean,
yeah,
smack your reg out of your mouth. And that 10 seconds or 5 seconds or 2 seconds it takes you to put it back. You're like, this one is raw full. Then imagine this guy now like, I don't get option. I'm just here.
smack out of your mouth. You have to remember to keep blowing bubbles whilst you're looking for your. You have to like no, I can't hold the breath. Checking for it.
Ah,
Well,
okay.
well,
We'll sidebar on this one. Two things I want to ask you though. First of
so
all, for anybody that had, well, even like myself, anybody that wants to know anything about diving in Nigeria, what should they know? But think about that for a second. Now, what's on your bucket list? Where are the places, the dive sites you want to explore, especially as a Nigeria diver?
um
As in, we go carry
yeah,
flag, go there, yeah.
we must go, we must go. Zanzibar, I heard
Ooh,
that's like it's like yeah, that's dope. Like it's really calm and it's very pretty. Then Bali, and I've been told, Bali. I've seen, the waters there.
Ola, Trey.
And
I know they were in Bali, not last year, 2 years ago. I was actually supposed to be on that trip with them. I just didn't make it with them, but I went to Bali afterwards. It was a trip.
okay,
It was a trip.
yeah, it's like to be able to see aquatic life. We have certain days, we have good days and bad days of visibility. So just to be able to dive somewhere where the visibility is really good in Cape Town, and it was pretty cold when I was there. But somewhere that's chill, you're not struggling with currents, and it's just an all-round, yeah, something more touristy, like something more scenic, more panoramic, and that would be great for me.
There are two places I'll recommend: um, the Grand Cayman and
Uh,
Cozumel. It's basically in the same kind of like dive area. Actually, Cuba.
Really?
Oh my God. Last 2 years ago, went to dive the Bay of Pigs. historical place, the whole shebang, and you get
Mm.
under. Apparently, Castro was a huge scuba diver. So he basically just like,
Oh.
nobody else dives in my country. Is my country, is my water. Nobody else dives. No fishing,
Wow.
nothing.
This place is for me.
This place is for me. And that's what we actually got to enjoy. Because, yeah,
Wow.
it
He
was
just like
pristine.
that whole area. He just matched the area. Oh, really?
In much the area, it was
Wow.
pristine. I haven't seen a reef that healthy in so long.
Hmm.
Bali's Gili is great, but the reef was a lot of tourists. Cozumel, same reef, no, different reef, but a lot of tourist divers, so they're smashing up the corals. Australia, they have the Great Barrier Reef, and it's getting bleached out. In
I'm not diving in
Cuba,
Australia. Just forget Australia. Forget Australia, please.
yeah,
Just take Australia.
is old
I
school
don't have
Jacques
time
Cousteau.
for no, not even that. The Australian animals are not. No, I'm not interested in Australian animals, man. Like I've watched too many videos. I spend a lot of time on Discovery Channel looking for places all over the world. I just don't like hearing about the fauna in
Hmm.
Australia. Sea snakes, sharks.
Everything is out to kill
Nah.
you. And
So they say. You
I
know,
think Sao Tome and Principe is actually a good spot.
really?
Um, it's right off our border, right off our border.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just I think down, just a little bit off.
Yep,
Really? Okay.
uh, it's
Ah,
it's
you know
right
what,
there.
man? You know all these
Eh,
spots. Have you been there?
Not to Sao Tome.
Have you been there?
Well, when I went to
Have you
Sao
dived
Tome,
there
I
before?
wasn't diving. Uh, but now I have a new, I
Okay.
guess, motivation to go there as a diver. Most of the places I travel to right now,
Okay.
if I'm not diving, like I don't care. Like I've seen too many assholes in different
Okay.
places. Assholes are the same everywhere you go.
Yeah, they're all the same. There you go.
But
True.
so like
True.
Sao Tome
True.
makes
True.
it different. Sudan is another place that's kind of popping. Not popping viral, but it's different
Really?
because it's unexplored. Oh my god.
Okay. What about
Ah,
all the Black Islands, where yeah,
w-
with the brother men, the brother men there, all
let's do it. You know what?
the
Let's
islands, Jamaica, um, the places, what do you call it? I'm trying to remember all the uh, all the dive spots I remember that are in, that's the weird thing. All the places south of Florida, all those small, small,
yeah,
small
kind of hotter
islands.
than Caribbean. The first
The
part,
Caribbean,
I
yeah,
think
sorry.
Cuba, then Cayman Islands. Cayman Islands is really good, just like super touristy. Especially when like your normal dive is in Lagos, harsh weather, and I can relate with that because in California, the dives are not really easy. Like it's great. There are great kelp forests. Sometimes the current is strong. It's always green. It's not the it's
Yeah,
not the most
visibility.
pleasant dive, but
Yeah.
over time you get really good dives. Then when you go to Grand Cayman, everything is always perfect all the time. All the time. Everything is like maybe one day a year that they have bad weather. They're like, the weather is really bad. We have like 20
Wow,
feet visibility. You're like 20 feet? 20
that's a
feet?
lot. That's a whole lot. There was a
Yep.
day in Lagos, we had more than 20 feet visibility, and the water was blue for the first time in a long time. And we saw it, we could see fish go
Wow.
by, schools. It was that's the day I didn't take my GoPro. I was kicking myself in the butt. That's the day I didn't take anything down there. And now perfect. The sun was coming in, and everything looked great.
Hmm.
Everything looked really great. Um, so I had a call come through. So
Yeah,
everything looked really dope. Looked awesome.
I saw this footage of jellyfish, huge Portuguese man of war or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Huge
yeah, yeah.
jellyfish from Scuba Lagos.
Jellyfish. Yeah,
Bro, by the way,
I'm
I'm
in
coming to
strong.
dive with you. I'm coming to dive with you. First of all, we are coming. I'm
When I
coming.
come in, when I come into town.
Let me. Well, because of Corona, it was supposed to be this time last year, but we'll see how it goes. So I'll ping you on the side, DM you on the side, and
Sure.
I did come out Murtala straight to what's it called? What's the name of that place? Jet ski park, something like that.
You come straight to Koi. Yeah, the dive club is in Koi.
Okay, Ikoyi.
It's just
Okay,
off. Yeah, it's just off Awolo Road.
okay,
It's a couple of houses down from the boat club, but it's on a different axis.
okay.
Uh, yeah. I mean, I'm sure they'll be happy to have you because whenever dive masters show up, there's always a bit of a you know of a celebration because dive masters do come in from time to time, and it's be nice to have a friendly face. So once you're in, do let me know.
Absolutely. I'll even make suya for everybody. I've become a kind of a foodie. I'll make suya for
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah, don't worry. I think they have. Just come when you get there. You go see the levels. When you come,
Levels
you go
on
see the levels.
levels.
You go see the levels. Levels good day.
Bro, what have you learned from this chat? What have you learned?
Uh from this, really like one. There's it it it's in it's this is actually one of the few conversations I've had with someone on this thing. I've only had this one conversation before, but at your level, this is my first conversation with someone that's been vastly experienced. Um, and who's pioneered and made his way, you know, in this field. So it's been very instructive. Uh, it's also been, it's also says to me that there's more to be done in the place of networking with people who share your interests because life is short, um, and there's a whole lot more to do. Because I haven't actually, with the exception of water resistance, which is a long-term project, I haven't actually really thought of beginning to construct at a network within guys who share this interest, in that way because it's been very, very personal, and it's been my own thing. So you brought a lot of light to me in your vision and in some of the things you're trying to do and in this connection you're trying to make. I learned that I'm one of the very few, which I assumed wasn't uh,
Bro,
a
it's a
thing
big
because
deal.
in Nigeria there,
It's a
the kind
big
of guys I
deal.
meet. Want to know the funny thing? The two other guys I dive with are Yoruba as well. You know, so um, it wasn't. It's only when I go out to other countries that I do this, that I do see that. And yeah, there's nothing has been as satisfactory as the camaraderie you get when you're talking about someone that understands your experience. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like really gets the experience, who really kind of knows where you're coming from and knows what needs to be done. So we're gonna keep talking. We're gonna keep having these conversations, and
Absolutely.
I want to wish you, all the very best. Happy sailing, safe journey wherever you go, and keep flying your flag, bro.
Bro. One for all, one for all. One for all for one. My English is not so good. Please forgive me, anybody
Your
that's
English day,
watching
but
this.
your English is okay, but brother, stop that one. Your English is fine. English is fine. Don't be me. Don't be me. You do that one. Like we did. We are all fine. We're fine. We good.